Hi everyone, and welcome to a chat with Glitter. We will be discussing today body image, and together we will be bringing forward some personal experiences around body image, and we're going to try to balance that out with some professional experience on how body image is affecting our lives. And we're going to hear from two professionals today, not just one. We have Dr. Tania Akaron and Abderrahim Al-Habachi. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Sure, I'll start.
Go on, Tania.
Hi, I'm Tania Garon. I'm from Puerto Rico. I always have to lead with that. And I'm a trans woman therapist and lecturer at the University of South Wales. So my focus is on arts, health, and well-being.
Hello, and my name is Abderrahim, but I go by Rahim. I live in Wales, Cardiff. I am part of the Cymru community, and I'm a belly dancer and performer and playwright. And I'm happy to talk to you both, Rania and Tanya.
Yeah, so I
Their
am,
rhymes.
So I am Rania. I am the co-chair of Glitter Cymru and the chair of GSI. And for those of you who do not know who Glitter Cymru is, Glitter is a safe space for BAME queer people in Wales. As far as I know, we are the one of the very few BAME queer organizations in Wales. And yeah, we have members from all over the world. Refugees and asylum seekers are part of our members as well. And we try to spread the word, and we try to create comfortable spaces for our people. So today's topic on body image came about from certain discussions that I've had with Abderrahim over a glass of wine or two. And always. And this is a topic that we kind of, we kept returning to. How are we being viewed as POC queer people? How is our relationship with our bodies affecting our experiences as POC queer people? And how those experiences kind of trickle into our professional lives. And Tanya, this is something that you are very familiar with, that balance of professional and personal and that body image, especially since you are a dance therapist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's body image is quite complicated, and it's this conglomeration of different notions, right? So there's a culture and all the different demographics and these protective factors that you have in your life. And it keeps kind of ebbing and flowing, and also ties in, as we've been talking before, about standards of beauty and also normalization of certain bodies. So in my work, it's interesting, I'll lead with the professional side, but in my work of I've been doing LGBTQ plus groups for the community, both in Scotland and in Wales. And particularly, I've been focusing on working with trans communities. And it is interesting how we look at the battles with our body. The battles with our body could be about gender, it could be about gender expression, gender and identity. Also, they can be around illness, around health. So all these things and all these facets are interrelated and are really important because they particularly affect LGBTQ plus people all over the world. And it's really intrinsically linked to mental health and to well-being. So this is some of the things that we're going to be talking about. There's quite a lot of research on eating disorders, and well, I come from a dance background, so that's been kind of very highlighted, but also in terms of recent studies with gay men, for example, where there's been higher rates of eating disorders, and it's been quite worrying. These really difficult pressures that people are navigating about looking, acting, behaving a certain way, and ultimately hiding a little bit of their truth in that.
Is this something that you relate to, Rahim, as a belly dancer as well?
I do, and it's funny to, it's interesting, not funny, it's interesting to listen to Tanya, because I am a gay man. I identify as a gay man, and I am also like I have a dancing background as well, and how these two amalgamations and intertwine with each other and create this. I don't know how to call it. This interesting behavior towards our relationship towards like soul and body, and how that. And I think when we talk about body image, every time that I reflect on my image and my body, it always goes back when I was a child and when I was like a flamboyant kid, and how even in my safe space, which is home, that's when I started being criticized about how much I eat, how my body is big than usual, how I am like, for example, I am 6'1", and since 13 I was I started hitting the 6 foot, or like 180. So I was always a big boy compared to my other brothers, and so I was the center of attention, quite literally, without wanting, because I was the one who stand out because of my size, and that started my mother to control my relationship with food, and how I should eat, and I had to finish the first one and start the last one at the table, and the portions are were, even though I didn't have that problems with food, and looking back to pictures now, I was so skinny and thin and beautiful. I wish I was that size now. and that really started my relationship with
altogether. Like, you know, that is interesting that you lead with that statement. I look back at those pictures.
That's what I mean. That's what.
Beautiful. But you know.
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean that's what I wanted to say as well. Is like this beauty and the size is very objective, and how we see ourselves and is different than other people sees us and perceive us, and I was seeing myself through the eyes of my family and my and the critiques that I was receiving, and that when started creating that shift. And I think it's something that we talked about, Rania, during that wine glass we had, and I think we had this similar experience as well.
So for me also, size is something that has been created or kind of force fed as an issue for like my whole life. And also being queer, sleeping with like women, you know, pansexual, non-binary people, there is always this comparison of the bodies. So me being kind of seen as a larger girl, sleeping with girls that are smaller than me, or there is always this kind of like comparison that has been kind of like imposed in me. And in a way, sometimes I feel that because I'm a little bit bigger, sometimes I'm being like fetishized a little bit. And on the other hand, sometimes I am being made to feel as if I am too big for some people. And there is this fantasy of like rejecting someone who is bigger than you, that I find quite problematic, even within the LGBTQ community. But like you said, Rahim, for me, this goes back to how I'm being forced to see myself through like a Western lens of what is seen as the right size, like Tanya said, and what is seen as beautiful, what is seen as acceptable, because it's not just that it's tied in with the idea of me being queer, being pansexual. It's also tied in with my value in my work as a human. If I am bigger in work, will I have less professional opportunities, because being bigger is tied into not having enough control when you're eating. Therefore, do you have enough professional kind of credentials and kind of professional control? So there are a lot of underlying issues when we discuss body image. And I think, Tanya, this fantasization is something that you have been, like something that we have discussed a little bit, fantasization around like the dancers and the body of the dancer.
Yeah, I mean,
like, no, not this again.
yeah, I mean, it has different dimensions. You know, I was thinking about when you were both, I think, Raven, you were talking about family before, and my grandma was a very big protective factor. She passed away a couple of years ago, but she was a very protective factor in both my kind of the queer identities in my family, and also in terms of body image. Because I remember, like, I grew up trained in ballet, and it was Russian teachers, and it was like you're trained almost to nitpick on your body all the time, and then you have people yelling or saying things like, oh, it's wonderful that you have all this charisma, because if you look down at your feet, you know, and there's all these kind of self-punishing things said, yelled. So my grandma, one day, she's like, what do you want to eat? You know, obviously grandma's in Puerto Rico and the food. And I was like, well, I just want a salad. She's like, she got really like, this is very healthy, but I want you to promise me. Like, she like really grabbed, you know, you don't screw with grandmas in Puerto Rico. I want you to promise me that you will not affect your eating, that this will never be a problem that you have with food. You need to, you know, do not what is it? What she said? I do not let all the things that people are saying to you trickle down. Can you promise me? And I was like, yeah, grandma, I'll promise. So it was really, and she was, you know, really adamant about that, because she was really worried that or a lot of colleagues of mine, little, you know, young girls, just really struggling with eating disorders and with eating, and she's like, I want you to be different, but and then when I started looking into dance movement psychotherapy, it was so interesting to undo. There's a lot of therapeutic undoing of all the negative things that people that there is in your environment, other dancers would do, and then going into people saying really ridiculous things about being dancer, and that being tied into sexuality, and because you're a dancer, you're better in bed, or, you know, I remember saying that to somebody. I said, oh, that's interesting. So if your profession dictates how your sexual prowess, then what profession are you? And he said, engineer. I went, oh, okay. So then, so I let it. All these kind of really hard-hitting things about your body, your profession, sexualization, and then having these problematic things. So that's why I'm really trying. I think I made it a bit of a life mission to undo that, you know, particularly when looking at trans spaces. And then there's such a difficult relationship and growth and journey and barrier to accepting, to living who you are and who you feel. And that's why I always, that's kind of my favorite group to work with, because it is about blossoming in your own self, but also having to battle what other people are denying about you, that you know is true, right? You know that you're beautiful on the inside. And well, sometimes we need a little bit of help knowing that we are on the inside and outside. And that actually, it's about that journey of negotiation rather than acceptance, right? Negotiation first. And, but yeah, just to round up a little bit, it's just that I think that's why protective factors, friends, having that kind of wine conversation of, are you struggling with this as well? Is this how you get support? How do you cope with this? And reaching out
as an actor, as another professional, do you find that body image is something that you have to consider quite a lot when you apply for roles, or when you're writing a play or a film about you? Is it something that you take into consideration?
But I want to answer the question, but I just want to go back to one thing you said, Rania, earlier about sex and how you are perceived during sex, and also Tanya just mentioned it, and it's like picked up something in my mind that although like I was talking about my family and how they really destroyed my self-esteem and how comparing me to my brothers and all that was tricky. And Tanya, you will always say, you said now that you knew that you were beautiful from the inside, and that's what I always felt. I felt like I'm always beautiful from the inside. Because that's what I was being told. I was always being told, well, you are so nice, but you're ugly. Well, they didn't say that you're ugly like quite literally, but they alluded to it. But actually, I remember the first time I felt sexy and I felt wanted and my body was appreciated was during sex. And that's how I developed actually that tendency of looking for appreciation and men acknowledging my body and all that. I later on realized that that was not the healthiest way, but at that moment, anything that can build up my self-esteem, and it really showed up. Like it really, like I noticed the difference in me and the way I held myself, and the way I started defending myself, and the way I started speaking up about myself and my body, just because there was someone who was literally worshiping my body and like saying it out loud. Oh my God, you are so sexy. That was like breathtaking. I felt like the life has been, and first, like the first time that they said that, because it was various men, different men. Every time, like the first time I heard that, like a list. The first time I heard that, it was like, "Oh, shut up! You are just saying that. I am already in your bed. You don't have to compliment me or like try to seduce me to come in. I'm already here." I was like, "No, you are here because you are sexy," and I felt very like really like touched me. And but yeah, and that was really important. And it goes back what you say, Tanya, is having the support you need from friends or relatives and all that. And that was my kind of support, is like my sexual partners. To go back to your question about acting and physicality, I like, because I am a belly dancer, and unfortunately now belly dancer or belly dance in general is perceived as having this svelte body, a lot of abs, beautiful men with like structured jaws and that. But it was not supposed to be like this. It was curvy women with hips and big, like literally their bellies are hanging out from the outfit and feeling like voluptuous and all that. They were the ones who are really said to be the true belly dancers. But now the beauty standards have shifted. And I remember I posted a video of me dancing. I was like the best. That's why I felt confident to post it, because it was my best dance yet. I did a great job. My hips were not lying that day. And the first comment was, "Oh my God, you should do something about that stomach. Oh my God. Oh my God." And they were like, instead of depicting my ability to dance, they were actually analyzing my body and how my body was moving and how like heavy I was. And that was strange. And I feel like for me as an actor, as a writer, because I think I write the things that I want to perform, I do create them to my body and to my image, and because I make everything that I write as so personal, and I'm not really fussed about the body or the person or the body of the person um, who's gonna play this or play the part, as long as they are in the right age. That's sometimes gender, but other than that, I'm not. But we feel that there is this part of the industry. Like I said, I am Moroccan, and it's only 4 years that I've been living in the UK. But for 23 years, I've been living in a country that really idealized the fair skin, the skinny boy or the skinny woman, the muscle man, the man who we call it in Arabic harsh, which is literally rough, means rough in Arab in English. and blonde hair is and blue eyes are the ones who are like, for example, when boys were dreaming about girls, they always say, "Oh my God, my dream girl should be like a blonde woman and with blue eyes." And there's literally like one of the most famous songs is this man dissing a brown girl and telling her, I tried you, but you were the worst woman I ever been with. Now I rather be with a blonde woman because she understands more and she's more compatible and she's more this and this and this and this and this and that. And even one of our famous comedians. Go ahead, Tanya.
No, no, that I was going to say that how important it is for UK Black Pride that you're mentioning this point about, there's hierarchies of beauty, hierarchies of bodies, and how they're interrelated, aren't they? Um, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And also like one of our
Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, I think one of the I agree with you completely. Like the hierarchy is in every possible way, but for me, what is the most shocking part was a stand-up comedian. There was a singer. She released a song like saying that, "Look at me, I am single, I am happy, I'm not gonna cry about you," blah, yada yada yada. The typical Disney song. This man created a parody. He is a stand-up comedian. He created a parody, and actually, I always like was fond of him because he is one of the few brown people on telly, because Moroccan television is filled with white, white, like white from Moroccan perspective, not from the Western perspective. And this man really put himself out there and created an image for him and a name for him, and he is brown. And but the distant track, he wore lenses, blue lenses, and bleached his hair blonde, and saying, "Before, when I was with you, I was black. Look at me, I am fairer and beautiful." You know what I mean? So this is like how the beauty standards have been stamped on us. And also, actually, even my hair, in like, even like everyone here is crazy about my hair and everyone wants to touch it. Don't touch my hair or I will cut you.
Even
Like
I'm
in
not
Morocco,
allowed to
you should
touch.
like exactly, honey, and you are my sister. Having a straight hair is the beauty standard. Having curly hair is reserved for the ratchet, the ghetto, the ones who are not clean, and all that. And it's that's why there is a lot of like products, straightening products in our countries, and fair products and all that, because of that what we're born with.
I totally relate to that. Someone's calling me. So yeah, half my family is Turkish and Egyptian, and I was born in Greece. And you've seen my hair is curly, is very curly. But throughout my life, I always felt that I had to straighten my hair. Day in, day out, I burnt my hair completely. I don't think I've ever been to work without my hair being straightened. And I don't think I've ever been to like an important kind of event without my hair being completely straight. And it's gonna sound really bizarre because I mean we have been activists for so long, and these are issues that we have been discussing and thinking about. But still, I didn't bring myself to see myself in a like professional setting with curly hair. And it's only very, very, very recently, since I started working for Cardiff University, that I kind of decided not to straighten my hair anymore, primarily because I have a lot of students that are brown, that are black, that come from POC backgrounds, that I know they're looking up to me as someone who looks like them, who talks like them, and who is in a position of power. And I took it as like my personal responsibility to show them that yes, you can be professional, and yes, you can have curly hair, yes, you can like be queer, yes, you can wear a chain, it's fine. that you are not less valid, because also clothes are part of that body image as well, aren't they? And how we want to portray ourselves within the settings that we find ourselves. So even though it's quite recent for me, the fact that I'm kind of embracing my curliness, and the fact that so I have stopped shaving for many, many years. I refuse to shave. I'm embracing all of my body hair, and I'm hairy. But the hair on my head was the last kind of like wall that I had to break. And I'm quite happy about that, because I feel a lot more liberated, and I feel a lot more like myself. And like you said, Rahim, looking back in photos, I kind of almost don't really recognize myself with straight hair or with kind of blowout hair, which is really, really interesting. You cannot really see today because it's greasy and it's like pulled back, but it's fine. I'm embracing that as well. So yeah, I think me realizing that younger girls and younger non-binary people will look up to me and be like, okay, maybe I can like do something like that, kind of pushed me to kind of be natural with my hair. Also pushed me to be a lot more honest with how I eat and what I eat, and kind of come clean to myself first with certain negative eating habits that I've had for many, many years, which kind of relate back to this idea of food that we have been discussing. So yeah, I feel that body image, culture, and food are kind of like very much interlinked. And I feel that we don't really discuss a lot those connotations that those three issues have. Because coming from a culture that food was like a way of celebrating anything, also grieving. If you don't feel well, eat. If you feel great, also eat. And you're surrounded by food, you're surrounded by people who like force you to eat, overeat, or kind of try to control the portions that you're eating because you present as a girl, or you want to be seen, to be liked. It kind of messes up with your head. It really does. At least it did for me. And it took me quite a long time to be able to understand that certain habits that I had are considered negative eating habits and an eating disorder. And it's only very, very recently that I have been taking steps to tackle that. And I have been quite honest and open to people like Rahim and you, Tanya, about it. And I'm happy to hold myself accountable for the way that I perceived those messages and the way I decoded those messages for myself, because it's all about the personal experience, isn't it? And this is kind of almost how my idea of body image has been shaped around an eating disorder that I didn't know I have, even though it sounds bizarre.
Yeah.
Really important.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, yeah. I'm just
go on, Tanya. No, you first.
Just very conscious that we only had 20 minutes. Yeah, just listening to you both, it really resonates, the idea of the where is the focus? Is the focus on somebody else accepting that, you know, having that external validation that you said, Rahim? Also that journey of internal validation, right? Of actually trying to suss out what's, I tend to try to stay away from, oh, this is really bad or right or wrong. I'm trying to say, is this sustainable? Am I doing this to cope with this? What is the underlying motivation behind anything? Because you can do something that's very bad for you, right? But is it sustainable? But I don't like that idea of like saying something's bad or punishing others or punishing ourselves, right? Because we do a lot of that, don't we? And it is about that difficult negotiations. So it's all these aspects. Ironically, just as a little funny quip, you can get bullied about anything. In Puerto Rico, I got bullied because I was light skinned. So that all the people, oh, the sunlight is free. Oh, you don't even look Puerto Rican. You know, so I used to do like baby oil and get really, like it was just really punishing behaviors as an adolescent, because that was the deviation, and it was cool to be tan, and it was you had to look like you had to go to the beach. So it really, I just posit it as because we're all coming from different walks of life, and everybody's journey with being othered or being excluded or being abused in some ways, and also self-abusing in some ways, has very different connotations and colors. So it is about again that growth, that identification, that bravery actually of going, actually, this is something I need to work on, and taking accountability for it, and also holding other people accountable for things that are not right. So it's all the dimensions, and body image is being used quite loosely lately, which I think is very worrying in some ways, because it really has all these different tiers that need to be addressed. And like Raheem, you're saying, the dimensions of race, of size, of body, of, you know, notions of what's okay to be a dancer in that way, you know, and like you said, Rania, the notions of professions and the pressure of this presentation of self is so challenging in so many ways. But I mean, for I guess for the topic of this panel, I guess it's up to you, I guess, in the wider, talking to everybody who's celebrating Pride, to stand up for others, to stand up for ourselves, and to tackle those issues head on, and to keep having these discussions over wine, over salad, over whatever, over a buffet, but to keep having these discussions and keep bringing awareness to it, and do more research on it as well, because there's not a lot of LGBT.
Yeah, especially in the digital age, and when the presence of YouTube and a lot of YouTubers being open about the body image. And I appreciate you saying that body image now is a term used loosely, and the issues with body image are now used loosely. And just like saying that, I just got the image of Lizzo saying that she having a cleanse juice, and everyone like being at her tail for just having like just a moment to appreciate her body, and she was like dragged for. So it's crazy. And I think sometimes we confuse body image with appearance. And our relationship with our bodies is internal and external. But sometimes when we say body image, we only think of the external part of it. And I think it's the duality, the function of the duality between the two is what makes us feel good inside out, basically. I don't know if you agree with me.
Exactly. Totally agree.
100%, because it's also who is doing the viewing and who is perceiving the viewing of the body. But you are looking inwardly and you are understanding where you are with yourself, you're looking at yourself, or you're just relying on external glances, on external validation for your own body. And this is the trickiest part, I guess, to find that balance and find the harmony between the glances and the vision and the voices of what you're allowing in and what you are kind of throwing back out. I'm aware that we are way over 20 minutes. So is there anything that you guys want to kind of like say as like a closing comment? It's okay. They will let you.
I am beautiful no matter what they say. Do you know that song? Sing along, everybody.
Yeah, it is. I guess the closing thing is the journey of accepting oneself, which is a parallel to being queer as well. It's an endless journey, and I think it's a lifelong journey. And it'll have moments. It's like a salsa. It'll have moments where it steps forward, and it'll have moments where you step back. There's moments where you get spun, and moments where you get dizzy. But ultimately, it is an endless dance. And I guess in the end of it is really fundamentally about trying to be constructive with ourselves and with others. Constructive. I don't say positive because sometimes it's not. I don't want to wash over the issues here because they're really important. But yeah, it is about being constructive and finding that way. And I go back to what you said, Rania, that accountability, self-accountability and external accountability is essential. And governmental accountability as well.
Very true, very true. Rahim?
I think, Tanya, I echo everything you said, and I emphasize on the word journey because it is literally a journey that we have, a journey that never stops. It evolves, it changes, it takes a lot of shapes and forms, quite literally shapes and forms, and we just have to embrace it, like you said, and be open to it, and let us take us where it is going to take us, and yeah. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you to UK Black Pride for allowing us to have this discussion. Thank you, Rahim. Thank you, Tanya. And yeah, catch you all soon. Thank you.